Luka Doncic's exceptional form this season has him firmly leading the MVP race, but for all his fantastic performances, the Dallas Mavericks are still below the .500 mark. They might not make it to the playoffs even with Doncic playing his absolute best. With rumors emerging that this season might be their only shot with Doncic, they're still unwilling to move on Josh Green to add more quality to their roster. Let's dive in, starting with the Mavericks' concerns with Doncic. Well, superstars like Luka Doncic don't come around too often. Once they do, maximizing your chances of winning a championship is important, especially if you're lucky enough to have them playing on your team. The Mavericks are currently going through that moment. Luka Doncic might be the key for the Mavericks to add to their only other ring, which was also won thanks to a special European talent a decade ago or so. But unlike the 2011 Mavericks, the 2022 Mavericks are quite poor. Apart from Doncic, they don't have much quality on the roster, and it's indicative of their poor form this season, having won once or twice when Doncic hasn't scored more than 30 points. That's crazy to think. They don't only need Doncic on the court, but also need him to score a huge bulk of points to win a game, and if that doesn't happen, they're more than likely to lose. So it's obvious that the Dallas side simply doesn't have a decent roster, and the problem is, they might not get a lot of chances to get it right. A player like Doncic, who is in the kind of form that he finds himself in, happens very rarely. The Cavaliers experienced that with LeBron in the first stint, and were lucky to get another shot with him, but that was rare. Who's to say the Mavericks will get more chances to win a ring with Doncic in this kind of form? Adding to that, the Mavericks are on the clock with Luka. Most important of all, the Dallas Mavericks are faced with a huge danger of potentially losing Luka Doncic too. It's obvious, a talent like him has the potential of becoming an all-time great, and if he carries this form on, there's a good chance that he'll end his career as one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA. Now, greatness for someone like Luka is a sure shot, but to take it to the next level, you need to have a ring. Unfortunately for the Slovenian, the chances of winning a ring in Dallas are not only bleak, but even the future doesn't seem too promising. The 23-year-old's already taken this poor Mavs side to the Western Conference Finals once, but despite that promise, the roster has only gotten worse, with Dallas losing Jalen Brunson in free agency. The current iteration of the Mavericks doesn't fill us with a lot of hope, and they might not be good enough to give Luka what he needs, a proper team. More importantly, if that is to happen, then the Mavericks might not retain Doncic's services. As we've mentioned, you don't get many shots at greatness, and it's the same for Dallas too. They won't get another shot at winning a ring, and maybe even building a dynasty with Doncic at the helm if they don't get him a good supporting cast. And as of now, it simply doesn't seem like it's happening. Moving on, could Luka potentially leave? Well, the latest contract that the 23-year-old star signed ensured that he'll be with the Mavericks until his age 28 season. That means the 2026 to 27 league year, which is very promising, don't get us wrong. That's the best the Mavs can do with someone like Doncic. But the problem for the front office is that the NBA is a league where the players tend to hold all the cards. If Doncic is unhappy, which he certainly will be, if the Mavericks don't add quality to the roster and the side misses out on playoffs or gets an early round exit, then there's an increasing possibility that he'll end up leaving the franchise. In fact, as per an NBA insider, Tim McMahon, the franchise is much closer to that unwanted Doncic drama than they believe, because there's no point for someone like Doncic to waste his time in a team that isn't built to win a ring. McMahon believes that there's a 2-year window where Dallas needs to convince Luka that this is the right place for him and that he can win a ring by staying with the Mavericks. The insider doesn't believe that Doncic would potentially force a move. He could very easily, but the fact that he'll hold all the cards should the Mavericks not improve their roster is something that the franchise should be fearing. In fact, it's a no-brainer even from Mark Cuban and the Mavs' perspective. Doncic is their only shot at a championship. It's not like they have other stars to rely on. Up next, Doncic's ambitious mentality needs to be matched by the Mavericks. The fact is, Doncic is also a winner. He's not someone who will stick around if the team isn't doing well. That isn't about loyalty. It's about ambition. And if the team continues to go on the trajectory they're on right now, Doncic wouldn't think twice before wanting a trade away from Dallas. McMahon rightfully points out that the Slovenian star is used to winning. The youngster won plenty with Real Madrid, and then also experienced the Eurobasket win with his national side, and he's definitely not a good loser. Few players at this level are, and that's why the Mavericks need to go all out and match his ambition. They need to bring in players that can improve the team and get the best out of Luka Doncic when life gives you lemons and all that. Of course, the ideal thing to do would be to make the trades, get some seriously good players who can challenge for the title alongside Doncic, and share the workload. But more importantly, time's running out for for Dallas. They need to get a move on. If McMahon's timeline is accurate, then the Mavericks are already behind. With the 15th of December already here, now is the time to make the trades, improve the supporting cast, and ensure that the team isn't as heavily dependent on him as they are. Now, let's look at the Mavericks' reluctance to trade Josh Green. A bit like the Lakers, the Mavericks have an asset they're not willing to trade for short-term success. For the Lakers, it's their draft picks of 2027 and 2029. For the Mavericks, it's Josh Green. According to Tim Cato of The Athletic, the front office in Dallas isn't too keen on trading Green right now, and they believe he's the third best player in the franchise after Doncic and Dinwiddie. That's a bit of a reach for someone who has been averaging 4.5 points over his career, along with an assist and 2.3 rebounds. Throughout the current season, too, the numbers aren't great, with PPG up to only 7. The shooting guard is definitely talented, and at only 22, we can see why the Mavericks rate him so highly. Unfortunately, they need to decide whether the future prospects of Josh Green turning into a special talent are worth it, or if they should invest in Doncic's ability to win them a ring in the short term and trade Green away. Of course, it's not as black and white as we're explaining, but it definitely has the potential of becoming this black and white if Dallas doesn't get a move on. Following up, is it worth keeping Josh Green? Well, as we've already taken a look at his numbers, they're not too special. And for a team like the Mavericks who need all the help they can get, they're more than underwhelming. However, his shooting has been sensational. He's averaging 7 points only in the 25 games he's played, but he's doing it on outrageous 71.7% true shooting, along with providing a dimension that's very important to the team. He can handle the ball, attacks the hoop, which he has done very efficiently, and the Australian has a lot of upsides. At the same time, if Dallas were to receive a really good trade package and the opposition wanted Green in return, they would have a very tough decision to make. If they're prioritizing short-term success, which they should be, of course, then it would be a no-brainer to trade Green. He comes off the bench behind the likes of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dorian Finney-Smith and has been competing for minutes with Reggie Bullock. With that many players above him in the pecking order, an attractive package for Green could be on the cards, and the Mavericks may have no choice but to end up trading him. But he's not exactly a youngster either. Green's already 22, and it wouldn't be long before he becomes truly the third or even the second best player on that roster behind Doncic. Definitely a tough decision to make. We're just glad we're not the ones making it. Lastly, Mavericks to move for Tobias Harris. Many rumors are doing the rounds for the Mavericks. Few are realistic, and even fewer would actually help Dallas compete for the playoffs and beyond. One of them could be a move for Tobias Harris. It might be the ideal way of getting some additional support for Doncic, and while it's not a big name, it's certainly one that could improve Dallas's supporting cast around Doncic. Harris has been a crucial part of the 76ers this season, averaging over 17 points and 6.3 rebounds along with 2.9 assists, 1.3 steals, and a block every other game. Very decent numbers, and he has been playing second and sometimes third fiddle to Joe Embiid and James Harden, so he wouldn't have any issues settling into a role behind Luka Doncic. It's a move that makes a lot of sense, and if the Mavericks are truly thinking of making it happen, they wouldn't need to lose Green either, as the 76ers might be happy with Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock, and JaVale McGee. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the Mavericks can make it to the playoffs this season? And should they trade Josh Green to get a quality player in? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.